Nice. Hell of a mood there, mate. You're Akash. You design spaces. What are you going for here, bro?
Trying to go for like like a moodlet cafe.
Yeah, yeah.
Something that's just warm and it's got the ambience.
Hardcore.
Um, because it reminds me of like, when you've got like those late night cafes that are just open and you're sitting up there on the couch and the fire's running. It's got the brick walls and the mood lighting. It's all warm and yeah, man, just that coziness. So that's what I've tried to recreate. Um, Hopefully I can do a little bit more in the future. When I can do things up a little bit more. But I'm happy with what I've got now.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, that image is there's a bar in sort of Britomart. It's underground. It's kind of set up like a speakeasy, and they do cocktails. I think there's
Yep.
another one up in Ponsonby as well, and they've created the most amazing space where at your table you're lit, everyone else's table is lit, but they're kind of they everyone disappears, and somehow
Yep.
they got the acoustics so right. They've got all these broom handles in the ceiling, and
Yep.
so your conversation is really intimate and close, and you can hear everyone. It's a full bar, but you can't really hear anyone else. It's
Yeah, man.
magnificent.
And I think that's kind of like the beauty with like constructing spaces, is like you can really get down into the like when we design spaces and stuff now, we can get like quite well into the science of where sound travels and how much sound we think the space is going to generate, and therefore how can we design the space to create those experiences that you're talking about.
Yeah, that's what's been really valuable in learning experience about podcasting. I remember when I first got this microphone, I talked to the back of it, and so it sounded like I was in a toilet.
Oh wow.
And so what I was getting was my voice bouncing off the wall of my laptop and then hitting the most sensitive part on this side. And I was just, like I went into a cupboard and like put curtains and cushions and rugs and everything everywhere to try to dampen it down, and it still sounded like shit. And I was like, what on earth am I doing wrong? Because I
Yeah.
recorded a voiceover for one of the ads I ran at the time, and it sounded really good. And I was like, what did I do differently then? I was like, University of YouTube, what's the story? Search my mic. And then first thing first, the guy says, no, the most sensitive part of this microphone is there. And it was like, oh,
You read the
good.
instructions, man.
Never, never.
Come on, man. First step.
Yeah,
First step
bro.
of the unboxing that everyone always misses, is
Yeah.
read the instructions.
Hardcore, hardcore. What else did I've had? Oh yeah, then I got my studio set up and
Yep.
started recording the audio in stereo. So that was fun.
Right.
It had a
Yep.
little back and forth between your headphones, which was or your car speakers. That was quite distracting. So then the next time I was like, right, recording in mono. And in the software I had, recording in mono just meant it took one channel. And so I just had me talking nice and loudly and firm, and my
Right.
guest again talking into the back of my microphone and it bouncing off the walls and hitting my microphone. So that was, yet again, it's not easy.
No, man. But that's the thing, It's just like testing and failing and figuring things out and how they work.
Hard out, yeah,
You know?
yeah. And so now for this little Zoom studio, I've got my curtain here and my curtain behind, and then
Yep.
behind my laptop I've got two foam um, single mattresses, and they sort of block out the rest of my kitchen, and it's good fun. And of course I've got this little doohickey that I've adopted off you, mate. The open box that you attach your mic stand to. Where'd you come up with that idea? It was genius.
It kind of just like when we started our podcast, we had these the mic arms, and then we just like looked around the house and we're just like how do we attach this to the small space that we've got? And then we went into the next, like the room next door, and we just looked and we are like, oh, okay, well, these will fit, you know?
Yeah, bro.
And then they just ended up being like the little units we used.
Hardcore.
It
So
was pure luck and chance and no real thought.
yeah, I picked up one from Kmart. It's a toy box, and
Yep.
I've scratched off the little hedgehog, and I think it said like "Let's Play" on there. And my girlfriend's just given me these two, or she gave me three vinyl stickers that I put on there. So I've got the Stag logo on the top and back of it now. So it's bloody good to go. Like, and then I can just like chuck all my recording equipment in the box and go on the road, which is exciting.
Exactly,
So
man.
what have you got in your space there?
Um, so I've got like my Rodecaster microphone
Yeah,
that goes off onto the mic arms. Then I've got my DSLR camera up here.
yeah,
And then that hooks and connects into like my computer. And usually when we like do our normal podcasts, we've got about three cameras running.
wowee,
Yeah. And so that we get like the main frames, and then I got a mate who comes in, he helps me, and we like live cut as we go. So
man,
when people are talking, we can cut to them. And so that's like the video feed. And then the audio is everything goes into the Rodecaster.
yeah, nice,
And then that all goes into OBS Studio.
and
And that's where I bring all the visual and audio together.
nice,
And so
nice.
then the output's just one finished file that we have to do like very minimal editing and stuff to, and then we can just put a beginning and end to it and get it out.
Yeah, I like that. I'm all about efficiency. People probably see that in the product that I produce. It's
Yep.
minimally edited and just it's about the content, not not necessarily the
That's
flash.
something I've been like struggling with, is like knowing, because I still like as a designer, I like something that is highly produced
Hmm.
and refined, and that's kind of what holds me back as well, where you want speed over quality, and
Hmm.
quality over speed, and how do you balance the two up? And um I think it's only taken me to like today to just be like, just get it out, because having something out is always going to be something better than like you're going to refine it, and you'll look at it and you'll be like, oh, I can fix this, or this is really going to annoy me. But it's like, think about 100 episodes down, you're only worrying about this one now because it's the most recent one. But what about 100? Try think about getting to the next 100th video,
Yeah.
and this little thing's not going to matter. So that's, yeah, I've trying to weigh that up, and um kind of reflecting on that and telling myself to just, keep going and don't let the little things like hold me down.
Yeah, yeah. Because I definitely hear producing a podcast, and like I said, there's been these moments where I've tried new things and
Yep.
they've been better, but there's been that sort of little bit of knowledge gap which has showed. And it's funny, like I said, the one where I had the studio set up and went to mono, and so many people were like, "No, that was really good," and I was like, "Oh, I was so embarrassed by that." And
Yep.
and it's funny when you listen to other people's podcasts, you straight away are onto it, like, "Oh, what happened there? Like, what's going on?"
Yeah, man.
And you can be so self critical. But like going back to episode one, like Human Now, was it always about this making positivity louder, or how did you sort of workshop the concept of you and a mate are going to sit down and get some people on and talk some good shit?
um yeah, man. So episode 1 was kind of just like we had the idea of Human Now, but making positivity louder, that hadn't come into the picture for like maybe a year and a half into the actual podcast.
Yeah.
The Human Now was about figuring out, and it's always been about like figuring out what it means to be human and now.
Hmm.
And we would come on, and it was kind of like a space where we would come on, talk smack sometimes, talk about whatever. Like it was really just a really fluid and like a space to just explore
Hmm.
and talk about whatever, chuck it up. And we had no idea. I had never listened to a podcast before in my life. I had
Loose.
no idea what I was doing. And everyone around us didn't know what they were doing as well. We're just like, sweet, let's just get in a room and talk about stuff. Like we were always into like self development. We always watched a lot of people. We've always attended classes, like youth classes and things like that. So that was like the one common theme between all of us is
Hmm.
that we like that personal development side of things, personal development and spirituality, and how we can be better ourselves as human beings. And so we were doing these recordings. We would kind of get guests in and we'd speak about things that maybe we would discuss as like a friends group.
Mm.
So that's why it was kind of like, yeah, let's just get our friends and the discussions we have, let's just record them and upload them.
Man.
And for me, there was still something that was kind of missing, or there's like a piece of the puzzle that hadn't kind of clicked yet. And it was kind of like, oh yeah, this is cool, it's the human now, but like what does the human now mean? And we were answering and figuring out like what is the human, what is the now, but there was still one underlying kind of purpose or like that drive or push. And it wasn't until maybe about last year, or I think it was last year or the year before, just a little bit, just near the end of maybe 2019, I had Fraser Guru and he does the 10,000 Dreams project.
Mm.
And when I was
I knew
speaking
that
to
name.
him, um, he like I was just blown away and had to take a step back, because I was like, I was doing my podcast, but in speaking to him, this guy's doing a recording for like of like 10,000 dreams,
Mm.
and for me that was like, damn, what am I doing? And his dream and his purpose is to share the stories of 10,000 dreams and to show people that they can dream. And for me that was like a moment where I had to reflect, and just to take a step back and be like, no, what is the real purpose of what I'm doing? And it's interesting because you kind of go through like phases of life where you have the highs and the lows, and you go around different friends groups and things like that. You're around different people based on how you feel. And at the time I was just around like not the best crowd,
Mm.
and I realized like the world isn't a happy place, and it's not a happy place for a lot of people. And I've been in places where it is a happy place, so why don't I just focus on that? And why couldn't positivity be something that I could be about? And let's make the world a better place, and that's where the idea of making positivity louder and that purpose, it hit me and everything clicked, and it was like, let's just lift the vibration that's around us, and let's raise this frequency, because we could sit here and talk about how bad and sad the world is, or we could increase the vibration of all the things that are good in this world and have a good time.
That's there's so many things that I'm sort of running mentally through my head there. I'm going to try and unpack that one thing at a time.
Yeah, man.
Bro, like, who was when you started out the podcast? Who was the predominantly in that friend circle that you sort of got together and talked yarns and discussed, and like I said, talked about growth, personal development. Who were all these people? Where'd they come from?
So these guys were like, one of them was my sister.
Mm.
And the other two guys, other three guys actually, were my best mates, and we all came from like a Bollywood dance school,
Yeah.
Indians. And so for like 13 years of my life, we were like in a Bollywood dance group, and we'd put on like productions. We started off in a little community center, and over time we like did productions from like, so yeah, we had the community center. We went to like a local school theater, and from there we went to ASB theater in town.
Wow. Yeah.
And then we also did like a 360 production in out south at the, what is it? It was like the Vodafone Event Center,
Hmm.
or it must be like Tauscher Clare events or something, you know.
Yeah.
And it was from there where we were like we were we were around like 20, 21 years old, you know, and putting on these shows and things. And it was from there, that group of friends where we were like, yeah, we could actually, that's where I learned, like, you can actually do anything that you want,
Yeah.
you know, and there's no limit to doing anything. And so when one of the guys, Paresh, he's like, why don't you just start a podcast, like, with what you're doing, you know? And so then it was like, okay, sweet. So, and who are we going to have on? It was like, let's just have our mates, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I had a mate at the time also who was into video and photography as well. And we were kind of doing like these dance videos on the side. And so we're like, sweet, we've got like the gear and the stuff to help us to do it. Let's just start.
That's so
So it was,
cool.
yeah, it was just around the friend circle that, and I consider them all as like my family now, you know, or
Beautiful.
they've always been my family.
So what was the personal development looking like? Like, was it around like how to execute your memory better, or how to be stronger, flexible, more rhythmic, creating tunes? Like, what did it all look like in terms of personal development when it was that space?
Um, do you mean like in the Bollywood school, or do you mean in the
Yeah, and
just in
in the
life
yeah,
or
life and then
general?
the friend group, and what we sort of bouncing around with it between each other.
Yeah, so like a lot of us would attend our like youth classes,
Hmm.
where we learn like the Hindu scriptures and Vedanta. And pretty much what that is just like understanding how to be and live in this world. And so for us, that was like a lot of personal development. And really what it was at that time was being in a space where you could just like talk to your mates, you know, if you had a problem. Because a lot of these guys are older than me. I
Hmm.
could just go to like, and they're the type of people to like know and ask like what's happening, you know? Like
Mm.
they're the type of people at that age, or when I was that age, who knew me better than I knew myself. You know, so if I walked into a space and I wasn't feeling the best, they would already know, and
Mm.
they would ask me, you know. And when I tell them how I felt, they were able to like just logically explain, like, yeah, this is like how you feel, but what you should actually do is maybe this, you know. And it's that's like a hard thing to take and understand, but like when you've got like those types of people around you, um you just you just trust, you know.
How cool. Um, Throughout this journey of this podcast, I've been sort of, as a secondary goal, been motivated by men's work and bringing that sort of mentorship, guidance, reflection to men, and sort of what I think is very missing from European culture. And when I spoke with Jaggerit Lalu, who I'd said to you about, did you know him? And he didn't. One of the things I said to him was like, what is that about Hindu culture that you feel so ready and so able to ask for help? And he said, that's like ingrained in Hindu culture, is ask for help, ask for others. And I was like, I don't think we have that.
Yeah.
How do you see it?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think I've also been lucky to like have grown up in a household like where like both my parents have always said, if there's a problem, just tell us.
Hmm.
You know, it doesn't matter like if you've done right or wrong, or if you like the best thing you can do is just say whatever's happening,
Hmm.
and we'll deal with it from there. So yeah, man, I think like growing up in a Hindu household, you know, where you just share, but also I think it might not just be in the like a cultural thing. I think it is like the type of people or the family that you're around and what they've enabled you to do, because there could be other families, like other Hindu families around out there, who don't necessarily speak and share everything, you know.
mm, mm,
um but yeah, I know for like from my own experience, like what mum and dad um have always told us, and there's like conversations we've always had, it's always been like, just be open and share and say how you feel, you know?
mm. Yeah, something that I've sort of voiced a few times around a Catholic upbringing is the feeling of shame and sort of sin around stuffing up and letting people down. But then I was just kind of thinking, then the sort of stereotype of how Indian culture is perceived or shown to European culture is that you've brought shame on our family. Like that's the sort of thing that you see, and I don't know. I might be getting that from like something like Coronation Street or something like that. But like, it is what's the sort of vibe with shame around doing something wrong as a child
In the like the Hindu
in
culture.
Hindu culture. Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. Like for like the real traditional families, man, like there it's like if you it's like reputation is everything, and
Okay.
how you're
Yeah.
perceived by other people in your community, you know, where like maybe the elder generation in our community, it's always about like how other people are going to perceive them. And so depending on like what you do or we do, you know, it's like, don't do this because someone might see you, and then therefore they're going to go tell their grandma, aunties, uncle, you know.
Yeah.
And whereas our generation is kind of just like, who cares, you
Yeah.
know, like why does it matter what someone else thinks of us? um but like it could even go as far as like a big thing in our culture is the type of job you have, you know. And like I could take my sister for example as well. So like if you ask any Indian, any Asian person what the typical job is for the golden child, and they'll say it's, you know, your doctor, lawyer, engineer, you know, and anything outside of that, anything creative is not accepted. You're basically a failure, you know? And so my sister, she didn't enjoy school, you know, she was never there to like learn, and she was okay with just getting through and being done, you know. She excelled in sports, and she's a very good communicator and had lots of friends.
Mm.
You know, she's very much a people's person, and she ended up choosing a career in the police, you know. And that was the first she was the first community, you know. And that was a massive thing, and also like a massive thing for my parents to kind of just understand, my family, to my extended family, for all of them to kind of understand like, what is this, you know, like a police woman, you know. And now that she's in there, she's doing it, she's doing really well, you know. Everyone loves it, you know. They have so much respect for her and what she does. And I think it's just like that little, just that letting of that fear of that unknown, you
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
And the same for like Indian, or yeah, Indian kids who want to pursue something in the arts, because like I feel like the Hindu culture has always been like, you go to school, you study, you get married, and you settle. And I don't think it comes from a place for like parents are not doing. I don't think the parents are doing something to like hurt their children. I think
Hmm.
it comes from deep down. It comes from a place of love, where they just want their children to feel secure and
Hmm.
settled, you know. And the way to do that is that these jobs kind of promise or give that, you know, in the eyes of the parents.
Certainty, eh? It's yeah.
Exactly, certainty. But for the children who want to pursue a career in the arts, you know, and something creative where that certainty isn't there, that that's like and that's uncomfortable for parents, you know,
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
kind of get around or understand what that's when it becomes like a hobby. You know,
So
oh, you just do this as a hobby and you need to go and do this,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
So you see, coming up, you're into Bollywood dancing. So is that kind of the marrying up of creativity, tradition, and this new frontier? Like, especially when it comes to the movies and shows and stuff like that. Like, that's not traditional, but it's tapping on
Yeah,
something
man.
traditional.
That was like my way of connecting back to my culture,
Yeah.
you know, because it was only like 2017 when I
Hmm.
first went to India. Like otherwise I've been born and raised here, you know, and I've lived a very westernized lifestyle. And the only culture that I've been exposed to is like through Bollywood dancing, through Bollywood movies, and attending like Sunday school where we go and learn our like our mother tongue, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so yeah, like Bollywood dancing for me was like a space where you could connect back to the culture. We'd wear our traditional outfits, and yeah, man, it was a lot of fun. It was so much fun.
Yeah. And so, what was the setting that you were able to perform in? Was it something that you guys put on yourselves, or was it some type of event? No, you put it on yourself.
Yeah, man, we put it on ourselves. We started off as just like doing like showcases of just dances,
Yeah.
and then it developed into adding stories and scripts and dialogues and everything, actors, and then we're like, oh yeah, let's put now we're gonna bring in like props and how we're gonna decorate each scene, and we just learned like we had no idea what we are doing, and we just learned everything. To the point where we were even doing like all the backstage stuff, you know, like stage managers, sound and light technician stuff, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there was something else I was gonna say. It skipped my mind.
It's all right.
It was
Might come
something you
back.
had. Can you do you remember
So
what you asked?
it was like, what was the setting of it? Did you create it, or was it in?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And so as well as having like the like the show performances,
Yeah.
we also got to like go and perform because we go perform at like people's private parties and things like that. So like my Friday and Saturday nights would be dancing at like all these fancy people's houses in Remuera. Like there was one where we were dancing on the side of someone's pool, you
Yeah.
know, like Graham Hart. He's like
Yeah.
New Zealand's richest man. He had like a Bollywood party, so we got invited to go and dance there.
How do people find you?
Um, just on the website, you know, and just through like word of mouth. And then like we also applied and got selected to dance at Christmas in the Park for a couple of years as well.
Wow. This is blowing
So
my mind.
yeah,
Like,
man, like it was just, and a lot of it was just putting ourselves out there and applying for stuff and word of mouth, really.
no doubt. I can now see what you're saying about how that started the idea of, man, anything's possible.
Yeah.
Like you say there, mixing with Graham Hart, like as you say, New Zealand's richest man. Once
Oh,
that
we didn't really like mix with him. We mixed with his like PA.
yeah. But still, babe. Yeah. No.
Like I remember we were like outsiders because we didn't even know that we were like dancing at his place, because we just got told to turn up, right, and perform, and then we were like standing outside his front gate, and we're
Yeah.
like, man, this is like a fancy ass gate, you know, let's take a photo in front of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So we all stood in front, took a photo of it, and then we walked like halfway up the drive. And then like the groundsmen and stuff like that, they came down and they're like, "Oh, did you take a photo at the front?" And they were like, "Yeah." And it was like, "Oh, you got to delete it." We're like, "What?" It's like, "Yeah, man. That's how fancy. That's when you know like how fancy you are. You know,
Yeah.
you
Shit.
got people telling you to delete photos, taking photos outside your gate."
So how long ago was this?
Oh man, this is like probably 10 years ago now.
Yeah. So Facebook time or?
Uh, this is probably even before Facebook time.
So,
Like you wouldn't, yeah, that at that time you wouldn't like take photos and post them up to share to everyone.
yeah, yeah.
You know, it was just like taking photos for memories. You know,
And show your mates at school, be like, look at this shit.
exactly. Yeah.
So who was the tech savvy genius that created a website?
um. So like, so in the dance school, we had like this committee,
Yeah.
and everyone just had like got allocated things to do.
Hmm.
So it was like the person who knew how to do the like the most the person who was the most tech savvy got the website.
This is so good. Like, was there anything that was sort of bottling this for you guys, or it was just enough people with the same drive that just took you off?
Yep. That's all it was, man. Is like it was just the vision,
Yeah,
you
hard
know,
out.
and the purpose. And that's where purpose and vision has that's where I've learned it from. So the purpose for them was growth,
Mm.
you know, growth, and I think it was like maximum growth. It was there was something else, but I can clearly remember it was growth. And whatever you do, any endeavor we go forward with, we just gotta come out and grow,
Mm.
you know? And that's all it was. Like if you don't know, then you just figure it out and do it.
This is so cool. This is kind of like, what was there any sort of dissenting voices around? Like, is there
Oh yeah.
anyone?
Like everyone's parents. You know, they're just like, what are you doing? You know, like you can't do this. I need to put you in touch with like the with Akshita and Paresh.
Yeah.
These guys are like the key drivers in the whole Indians like movement, you know, and how they started this Bollywood dance school, because pretty much everything you see here, everything that I am, 100% I would not be without them.
This is so cool. It's,
Yeah, man.
it's like, yeah, like I said, surely there was like someone saying, "Nah, this is dumb. Or, what are you doing? You're wasting your time." But
So many
okay, so there
people.
was that. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. All the parents were always like, "Oh, are you gonna do another show again? You know, are we doing another one this year? Are you sure you really?" Because these are like if I'm correct, they're like $100,000 shows,
Yeah.
you know, and the way they raised funds was from having the dance school,
Mm,
and
mm,
you know the fees to the dance school go to pay for like the costumes and the venue hire, the decorations, everything.
mm.
And yeah, man.
That's fantastic. That's so cool. I love that like unbridled drive from within, and even like the fact that all the parents being like, "Shouldn't you be doing something else?" Like, no, no, this is great, and like how far they went, and like what an epic lesson.
They like I've never had a better experience of seeing the process, you know, from having the vision or the goal
Mm,
to the process. We have maximum dedication
hmm,
to
hmm.
like final output where it's just like we have grown so much.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like the goal was, or the purpose was, okay, let's put on this show.
Hmm.
The process was, let's do it. The process was, let's meet twice a week, Wednesday nights and Sunday nights. Plus, the dance school was running as well,
Mm.
and then you have like your dance school and your production team, and they're all working on putting this thing on, and the end result is this massive show for one night only. Everything you work for 2 years, 2 years. You do all this work for 2 years for one night.
Wow,
And then the next
that's a
day you're
grand
just
final
like,
right there.
yeah, you know, but and that's where I've also learned, man, is that as good as that one night was, there were so many memories and so many learnings made through that 2 years. You know, just like I don't know, it's like one of the best times of my life.
Yeah. That you're speaking about your parents, or how you thought parents of Hindu people just want that security. Like, that is one of the amazing things about committing to something, is that you take away a decision, that, hey, on a Wednesday and a Sunday night, I'm there and I'm doing it. What am I doing it for? Oh, yeah, growth. We're going to put on the show. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. And
100%, man.
then you get to be present each Wednesday and Sunday night. No distraction, like you say, fully focused, doing what you're doing, and then you've now got that like tool in your back pocket that, hey, if I commit to something, if I do the process, then that ending is going to be awesome. That's going to be really fun, but I'm going to learn so much, develop so much, grow so much over this process of whatever time period it is. That's really really cool.
And you know, like what's so interesting about that is that like even though I've learned that and I've been a part of it, like life is so interesting in the way that it just like picks you up and then drops you right back down to zero and tells you like, hey man, like ready to just are you ready to just like learn this all again?
Yeah.
Because like that's what's been happening with me in this podcast, man. Is just like so I practice as like an architectural designer.
Yeah.
Like that's like my 9 to 5, but it's not 9 to 5. It's like 9 to like forever, you know?
Get the
And
project
that's
done.
like exactly pretty much, man. And then the podcast is on the side, but like I'm trying to integrate everything into one, and then I've just like one of the biggest learnings I've had is that having that dedication, you know, and I've been in a space where I've had to dedicate a lot of time and energy into doing the architecture because that's what I want to be really good at.
Mm,
But I also want to be really good at like the podcasting and creating this space and having positive conversations because that like going back to what we were talking about before with the making positivity louder, this is how I'm marrying like both these things up where I'm creating positive spaces and
mm.
then having positive conversations. And that then is me and who I am. And yeah, man, like the last probably month, my learning has just been like exactly what we're talking about. We're just starting at the bottom. And it's like, okay, am I now ready to like be dedicated to this and to like just start? And like I'm doing these like daily posts and things
Mm.
like that, but I know that I could be so much more, you know, and I don't know if that's like something I'm putting on myself or what, but it's just like, man, like I don't feel like I'm doing enough just yet. So let's just bring in some discipline. And yeah, man, that's where I'm at. Like, so
Hard out. Yeah, it's it's really funny when you see reflected back your work, or you get that piece of feedback. Like I know, through sharing your stuff, that I've then seen my audience tune into your stuff, and I'm like, yeah, good. Like I've kind of I love the term sharing the wealth.
of
And,
course, man, 100%.
yeah, and I'm like so stoked when I see the people that I can have an influence of pick up on things that are influencing me. I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. And that's like when I hear good music, like me and my mates on Facebook Messenger, we just always are flicking music into our chat, and then same on Instagram. I love flicking, from Spotify, just pressing the share button, chucking it up. Like, this song's good, this podcast's good. I'm listening to this. Like, see if it vibes with you, or whatever. But yeah, that's it's awesome to see. And like it when growing up, like at 8 years old, I went to a New Zealand juniors swimming event, and I've got like a third place ribbon. Somewhat what this laptop's sitting on. I had to. At high school, I made a trophy cabinet to put ribbons and medals in from bloody swimming. They hand them out
Yeah.
like lollies. But yeah, I found like a third place ribbon from when I was 8 years old. I was like, far out. No wonder I was so like obsessed with this thing, and I was only 8 years old. And I had like I read the Winner's Bible when I was about like 10, and I had made one. So I had like this manila folder with this photo of Michael Klim on the front.
Yeah.
Who's like an Australian swimmer, like no hair on his body, and he's just like standing in the pool with the lane rope on his head. It's a powerful image, and like wrote down like what I wanted to do, like going to the Olympics. And then I was playing soccer, football, and like,
Yeah.
I just was like, yeah, I want to go and play for Manchester United. I want to be like David Beckham. I was always practicing curling the ball into the goal. Love taking corners and free kicks and stuff like that, just to be like David Beckham. I'd do my hair like David Beckham. Shaved my head one time like David Beckham. My mum was horrified. And then it was like also wanted to be an optometrist from 12. So again, it was like, right, what do I do? Like do science, do English, then just do science and maths in the last year of school, get to uni, do these courses, and then, like you say, life has a funny way of just like dropping you on your ass. And it was like the first two tests I did at uni was like, 50%, you're screwed, mate. And I was like, ooh, what do I do now? And like, yeah, shit didn't go well that first year. Or even second 6 months were a lot better, but the first 6 months,
It's you into your place, eh?
yeah, being in Auckland, it was shocking. I made some horrific decisions, and like, yeah, I like got shipped out of the hall I was in into another hall. My parents were overseas at the time. It was just like, I was talking about like shame of things, like trying to have that conversation at Auckland Airport with my parents. I've just come out from overseas and be like, so bits happened over the last 6 months. It's not going so well.
What did you do?
Oh, it was drunken misunderstanding with another lady, and it wasn't very good. Misread the signals, and yeah, faced the consequences. Got moved temporarily into another hall, just to get out of that hall, and then into the other hall, and no, it was not good. But learned quite a bit out of that, and just like I say, it drops you on your ass. You got to go for this process of like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And moving on, and like sort of addressing where that need for I guess it's like affirmation of who you are as a person comes into that. You're like, it wasn't until I was sort of 25 when I went and did some psychology, and it was like, why was I so overcompensating? And in junior high school, someone had teased me saying I was gay, and I think that was just like the big overcompensation. All it was is that I played soccer, didn't play rugby.
Right.
Yeah, and I think like a little bit of jealousy as well, because I was good at this thing, and then we'd play rugby league at lunchtime, and I'd be good at that. But I was a soccer boy, and I was good at water polo, I was good at volleyball, I was in the cricket team, and then I was smart as well, and they cut me down to size, and so then I overcompensated, and thought I was the man at uni, and wasn't. See you, mate, you can't do that. So that was, like I say, life sometimes drops you on your ass and say, here's a lesson.
And so that's what I was going to say is like, do you regret anything, or would you change anything?
Yeah, it's the tough question, eh? Like it's the easiest question to ask anyone. Like, would you change something? Especially when things do start to work out. Like the road's so bumpy and up and down.
Yeah.
But along the way, you got value, you've got hindsight, you get to achieve stuff eventually. And it's kind of like, well, how would the path look?
Exactly.
Yeah. So like,
because you probably wouldn't be who you are right now without having gone through all that crap,
Yeah. And it's also like, so I had to go to Otago and do a Bachelor of Science, and like, that was another 2 years. Yeah, I made my student loan gigantic, but excuse the pun, the lens that I see optometry through is like shaped by studying some neuroscience, studying some reproduction, looking at human body systems, and just like seeing the eye as an extension of the brain, seeing as the eye as a not just this one organ that sees, but it's a representation of all organs. Like it's a representation of the blood supply, it's a representation of the nervous system, which I wrote about this week in a blog. And like, then seeing the person as a whole, I think I wouldn't have that view of optometry. I was telling someone today, I find most optometrists are very sort of closed-minded and obligatory in what they do. They're there to prescribe glasses, whereas I see it like, When I went through uni, we studied therapeutics as well. Like it was hard, but we studied it and like learned about like drug interactions and things like that. And that's how I
Right.
kind of see the profession, and it's fun. And like you say, if I hadn't stuffed up that first 6 months of uni, that wouldn't have been my journey.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
100%. You would have been someone completely different. And yeah, man, like this the same it's so interesting that we're talking about this because the same thing kind of happened for me, right? Is like we're like when we were doing all these performances and things like that, right? Doing all these shows and things like that, I was that would like fill up my weekend, right?
yeah,
So I never really experienced that like going out phase, going to clubs and stuff like that. And I just didn't have the time or energy or attention to put towards that, you know? So my discussions with my friends and things like that at school would be completely different to like the discussions that I was having with the people that I was around,
yeah.
you know? And like you're saying, like when you're young, you do have those feelings of feeling like insecure and like, oh, you know, I'm not part of like that group and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that, or I don't get invited to the parties and things like that, you know. And at that time, that's like the most important things, you know. But like I think I was lucky enough like being around these people where when you're like at those events and stuff like that, when you're dancing and having such a good time and you're around growth, that stuff didn't really matter. And so I was quickly able to turn away from that. And then when I went to study, so I did my 3 years, my bachelor's in architecture, and and I kind of thought my like trajectory or path was just going to be like do my bachelor's and then master's and then work and then you know that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
And then our HOD who looked over our department, he was leaving, so I studied at Unitech, and then after my 3 years, he was leaving to go start a new school in AUT, and I was like, oh, like this guy's the man. Like I should probably go and start his program. It's all new and it's going to be the best one in the country, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And thing was that it was only going to start like um it's going to start a year after the year after. So it basically meant that I was going to need a gap year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, man, like what do I do? You know? And then I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go to this university, so I might as well go get a job.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no clue what I was doing in architecture. I didn't know how to design or build or do anything, you know. And then ended up finding the place that I work at, you know, and and like what we're talking about, I would never be who I was unless I made those decisions, you know.
Yeah.
Like I had to take that gap year to find the place where I now work, where I ended up working for like 2 years
Mm-hmm.
and then went back to study and I've still stayed at the same place. And it's I reckon, the one of the best places to work in the world, you know, in terms of the buildings we create and things we do. Like I couldn't imagine myself working anywhere else or doing anything else,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that only happened because I took that gap year.
How cool. And like um when you're doing something that's so great and leads to something so awesome and at least all these opportunities, like I say, that's the most important thing in the world at that time. And like,
Yep.
yeah, I'm going to be a great person. And then it's kind of like, I think lots of people find their job and find their role, and I'm like, yeah, I've made it. Like, now this is me for 40 years.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm still going like, yeah, right, I've got to make it now. Still got to keep making it. And like, that's where like, you know, what do I do on this Instagram thing? What do I do on this TikTok thing? Like, how does it,
Oh man, a
how,
hundred percent.
how do you crack it? Like, how do you get people to listen to a podcast? Like,
You
do you
tell
start?
me, man. I'm struggling with the same thing, you know, because like for me, I don't want to engage in social media, you
Yeah,
know, like I know that I can get caught up in the amount of views, the numbers, the likes, the followers, and I know that all of that isn't real,
yeah,
but I
bro.
know that like participating in that regularly is going to amplify my noise.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do I do, man? That is 100% been my dilemma
Yeah.
for like since the beginning,
Yeah.
and what
it's one
I'm
of
trying to
life's
deal with right
dichotomies,
now.
eh?
Yeah, 100%. And for me, like I've just recently been talking with Sam from Better Than Before.
Mm,
And he said the same thing. He's like if you want to lift the vibration of what you're doing, then you got to participate, you
yeah.
know?
And shit,
And
he's participating, eh? Like, um, how the hell he got that TikTok channel like absolutely humming, but like now he's at the stage, and that's like the beautiful thing about TikTok is once you get to that live level, then geez, you can just like be on live, and it appears their algorithm seems to deal in likes. Nothing doesn't matter
yeah,
who's viewed it or what, but if you're getting likes, then you're getting freaking elevated big time. And if you're on a live, then you're just getting liked all the time, and your likes going do 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 do.
yeah, man. But that guy hustles so much, man. Like I've just been on a couple of calls with him, and just messaging him and stuff like that. He's just like on the bullet, always just like, okay, have you done this? Have you done this? Or asking me questions like, oh, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? Because there's a couple of things he wants to do, and he's asking, and I'm just like, man, this guy's like, this is how and the roadmaps are all there. It's
Yeah.
just like we just gotta like do it. And so that's what I've just trying to get my head around and understand. I think for me, like why I'm doing what I'm doing,
Mm,
and knowing that what I want to do, I'm not doing to focus my attention on getting the numbers.
mm,
I need to try and remove myself for like what I've been doing is I do my posts and then I don't look at my phone. I've been trying not to look at my phone, but you still fall into the trap until the next day,
mm,
you know?
mm,
And that's like, so if I don't look at it, my attention's not there, then my energy and attention is diverted somewhere else. And so for like the last 2 weeks, I've just been like 100% into my architectural work,
mm,
you know? And it's only now that I've like taken a little bit of a break and had a bit of time to think and just been like, okay, so now we're going to create some stuff and we're going to post it, but let's not get attached to all the numbers and things like that. Let's get attached to the idea of lifting the vibration.
mm.
Because
Instagram
I had
has made this easier for you, man, and you know it may even tap into the algorithm because you'd be using a new tool, and they've allowed you to post from your laptop. So you could even potentially remove the app from your phone, have the post in
100%,
your
man.
laptop, shoot it from that new feature, which they tend to somehow promote stuff when you use their new things. Like
Right.
I remember Jack Jensen from Misfits told me about reels, and I was like, oh, yeah. He's like, we should make a reel of this podcast and put it up before we talk as a teaser. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. So I like clipped three awesome things that he said in our chat and put it in. I think it got like 14K views, and I was like, well, a bit like you said, for one, these views aren't real. Like my following hasn't gone up 14K, but
Yeah.
which would be great if it did. But I was like, oh yeah, that's interesting. That like it promotes the new tools, and I'd be interested to see if like trying that if you are posting from the computer, if that's going to like make the reach on your photo all of a sudden be way larger than it is.
100%, man. And that's what I've been like struggling with is because I was like, okay, let me put my daily posts out, and that's like regular stuff I'm putting up. And I'm doing it, like you're saying, to share the wealth,
Yeah.
share like my learning could be your learning, and or you might reflect on it, and it's going to just pass out. And what I'm doing is I'm just lifting the vibration. Cool. And then like, I think it's only human to like want and to like want to see the result of what you're doing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, man, it can get disheartening when you focus on those things. And so yeah, now I'm and in some way it's also been a good like reflection, like a reflecting point as well, Because I was just like looking at some of the people I follow, and they
Mhm.
just like put up pictures of themselves. And I was like, what are they doing? You know, like why are they putting the photo and you flick and it's just like the same photo, just doing a different pose. I was like, oh man, I know what this is. This is like the algorithm. Like someone must be doing this for the algorithm. And I was like, I don't want to take photos of myself, you know? And so I was like what we're talking about with like reels and posting from the computer and stuff. And so I was like, okay, well, what I can do is I need to be more disciplined in what I'm doing. So I'm going to record more podcasts and I'm just going to reflect on the posts that I've already done, you know? And so
Yeah.
those are my like learnings. And let me just talk a little bit more about them. Then I'm making content, you know? And from those, I'll snip them up and chuck those online. And if I create little reels of them, cool, you know? And so that's the plan.
Yeah. Let me know how you get on.
Yeah, man, 100%. We'll see how it goes. It's like I feel a lot more comfortable being like in this setup here, you know, where
Yeah.
we're talking with each other and the mics and everything. But like I tried like holding the phone up and recording to it, and you got like the 1 minute, and you're trying to say everything, and like you just say the whole thing, and you get to like the last few seconds, and you say something wrong, you pronounce something wrong, and you're just like, oh man, like I gotta redo this again now. And you sit there, you do all these takes, and then you're like, okay, sweet, and then you just post it up, and for the next like 24 to 48 hours, I was just sitting there with so much doubt and insecurity.
Yeah.
Like, you know, what are people going to think? Who am I to post this? Why should I post this? What about the way that I look? You know,
Mm-hmm.
like, and I was so far removed from my purpose and what I'm about that it just like it put me off doing everything, you know. And it's just like, what's the point? Why am I participating in this? I don't want to do this, you know.
Yeah, it's
And
that
yeah,
balance of authenticity, eh? Like, well,
100%, man.
I'm trying to be authentic in what I'm doing, but I'm also like I said, trying to reach people so that I can raise the vibration. And so like yeah, the dichotomy of it. And I was listening to one of your podcasts. Who is it that works for My FM? He's been on
Randy.
Randy, yeah, and he was
Yeah.
saying about them recording some clips all half a day or something. I was just like, that's commitment to some content creation.
100%, man. And yeah, just like I've so like, man, I feel like our phones like listen to us, or they
He did, man.
somehow connect to our brainwaves and what we're thinking. Like my phone knows what I'm thinking because when I scroll like my TikTok, it like came up with like what a content creator like does. Like, this is
Oh,
how I plan my stuff and blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, this is a little bit scary because I was just thinking about that. How is this stuff happening? You know?
yeah. There's heaps of people on again how the videos get elevated on TikTok. I'll never know, but lots of people talking about these new tools on Instagram and how to optimize them and what. This one we're talking about like how much content creation. The one guy was talking about like a post to your carousel like every day, a reel 3 times a week, a video once a week, and like so many stories a day. I was just like, jeepers. And nobody got
Yep.
time for that. Like, or will they?
100%. I got a job to do, man. I gotta build this building.
Yeah.
Am I gonna sit there and so that's where I think I kind of have to remind myself and bring it back to like, what do I want from life? What's gonna make me happy? And what am I gonna be okay with doing? And as long as I remind myself of that, then that's my truth. You know, I gotta be okay with that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the stage where I'm at, and I'm figuring that out.
I know. I think what I love hearing from Joe Rogan, like million downloads like in the first hour,
Yeah,
is like what does he say? I just started this to have fun with my mates, smoke
yeah,
lots of weed and talk shit on the internet. And then we haven't really changed that. I just like talking to people. And so I continue to talk to people and just keep doing that. And it's like your sort of discerning side of your brain goes, yeah, but he was an early adopter and he started an early, he got the
yeah,
wave. He was
yeah.
already famous before it started, so he, already had a big audience.
It's
And
funny
he-
because I was just thinking all of this in my head, man.
I know.
Gotta be honest, man.
Yeah, it's so good how like the brain works. Like, that was even
Yep.
when you're talking
As
about
perfect as we want to be,
yeah,
like we're human, and that's our humanness, man.
yeah, and it definitely comes from like we're talking about with the Bollywood dancing, like your parents being like, yeah, what should you do? Is it you start having that thought in your head. It might have even been Bloom Sam Harris talking about meditation and like your thoughts aren't being your own. He like believes that there's no free will and whatever, and just like things happen and like you're a creation of your surroundings. Like it's funny. Do you engage in any meditation? Is that anything of Hinduism, or is it just part of prayer with Hinduism?
Meditation. It's like an interesting one. I'm still kind of learning about like
Yeah,
proper meditation. Like there's just like a a proper way where you got to kind of get yourself into a state to meditate.
yeah,
But like on a high level, like for me, I also think meditation is like being in a state of flow.
mm,
Like going for a walk can also be quite meditative, and it's just like knowing that you've got this inner voice and how to deal with it and
yeah,
getting these ideas out and these thoughts out and being okay with the thoughts that are in there. I think that's kind of like meditation. I've tried sitting down and breathing,
yep,
and bringing I feel like my mind's pretty much like pretty tuned to the
mm,
moment that I'm in,
mm,
and I can recognize if something's causing me a lot of stress. Then I know that like I have to take some time to just recognize what it is and what's causing it. But no, I haven't actually like properly educated myself around meditation and how to do it properly.
mm,
Um, I think that's something that I want to try and figure out, and that's something that we get taught in or encouraged to do as part of our youth classes. Like, because I still go to these classes now,
mm-hmm.
and yeah, we get told every week that we should do it.
So how do you fit into the class now?
So now it's like with um, like our class now is on like Tuesday nights. It's run by an organization called the Chimay Mission.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically with the same group of friends that like I did the podcast with and that I've grown up doing the Bollywood dancing. And so pretty much my family. And yeah, every Tuesday we read these texts and learn about what they're saying and how we can apply it to our real world like life.
Yeah, beautiful.
And that's been something that I've been working on for myself, is making sure that I am disciplined and making sure I don't have anything on Tuesday nights, because that's where I go and where I learn. So making making spirituality more of a priority in my life.
Mm-hmm. And so is it thought of like a church or a belonging? Like,
Um so like in the Hindu culture, like you don't necessarily go to church, but you go to a temple to pray.
mm-hmm.
And because the gods are just like all the gods, and the statues and idols are just representations of like ideas and the holy, like high level like spirits and gods,
Mm-hmm.
like we don't, yeah. And like you go to the temple on like specific days, certain days, if you're celebrating or observing a special occasion. Um but in terms of praying, that you can pray like any time of the day. Um, yeah, you don't really go to church.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because even at school, like all the kids would be like, "Oh yeah, I went to church in the weekend." We're like, well, we just stayed at home, you know.
um. So as a community, what's your interaction? Is it like, do you associate as a congregation or as a religious group, or just it's just family?
Um,
Like say stay at home or
no, we
homes.
do we do have like a community. So yeah, we do have a community, and that community is based off like our caste,
Hmm.
like so the specific caste that we belong to, and that's made up of like a group of families.
Hmm.
And so that kind of goes by like your surnames, like you'll have specific groups based on like what they did back in the day,
Hmm.
and they will belong to these communities, and they will have different, like they will have different beliefs and things like that, variations within Hinduism,
Hmm. Hmm.
and believe in certain things, observe certain things. So yeah, we still like at growing up, we still met up with different kids within our own casting community.
Hmm.
And then going to like Sunday school where we learn Gujarati, that's where I met other Gujarati kids, but of different castes,
Yeah, yeah,
and they're all from different areas around Auckland.
yeah.
And that's how I've kind of expanded my like friends group.
How cool, how cool. So, what did your family or caste do in India, and what was the reason for immigration?
So in India, this is an interesting question. Because it's this year, 2021's 100 years since my family's been in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So my great grandfather came from India in 1921.
Hmm.
And I don't know what he did in India. All I know is that he hopped on a plane, came to New Zealand, and was selling fruits down in Wellington.
Yeah.
And then went back home, picked my granddad up. He was probably about 6 years old or something. Brought him to New Zealand, and they just moved up to Auckland, started a business. And then my grandfather, when he grew up, started a circular business, like circular distribution of like pretty much junk mail,
Yeah, yeah.
and pretty much worked his business up to being second highest distributor in New Zealand after New Zealand Post.
Wowee.
And then my mum, she was born here as well, went to like local schools that we all went to. And then I was born.
And now you're here. Bro, when we're talking on Instagram, you said that you design place into spaces. Like
Yeah, man.
what?
Design. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
What does the client want these days?
It's interesting. It depends really on the like what they believe in, their ethos,
Hmm.
and budget as well. Like everything we do, like our purpose when we design spaces is to design beautiful human spaces. So it doesn't matter what we're doing, what comes out of our office, it has to be beautiful, because if something's truly beautiful, then it's truly sustainable.
Hmm.
And if you design something beautiful, then someone's gonna look after it. You only look after things that matter and care to you. And so, like when the clients come to us, some of them are just like, I want this type of building, and some come to us and they're like, design me something, you know.
Mm.
And you're like, what are you about? What do you want the space to be about? And you get some clients who are like, I want this space to be um, I want this space to, like one of the ones that I'm working on, it's all about the energy in the space.
Beauty.
So we want where the under two kids are, where the babies are, we want the energy to be quite low level. Um, we want it to be quiet, a space where we can keep everything quite grounded, and
Mm.
low level activity. And then as we move out, we want the energy to grow and increase, as when we move out into the playgrounds, we got high level energy, high activity, it's loud and exciting, and we're learning, and to try and trying to take that and create it into a concept. That's what we do,
Yeah.
and we create the building in a way where that enables that to happen.
Nice. Where did this eye for beauty begin? Like how did you go from school
Um,
to architecture, Unitech, and yeah.
that came from a lot of that has come from my boss. and everything, like his design ethos and what he believes in. Like
Hmm.
he kind of has been my mentor in terms of helping to shape my or mold my way of thinking or my design philosophy.
Hmm.
And there's this one video he we always relate back to, and it's kind of like the theory of beauty.
Hmm.
I've forgotten the guy's name, but what he talks about is like how beauty has evolved with us through evolution. And like he starts at the very beginning. This was a guy who was like it's a TED talk done by a guy, a professor who was from the US, but he was teaching down in Canterbury University.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And he gave a TED talk.
I got my
Um,
phone here. We can find out.
yeah, man. Um, and he talked about like the cavemen, and the stones and the like the tools they used were shaped in this like teardrop shape. And he's like, for centuries, that teardrop shape has been beautiful. And that's why it's like it's survived and lived on and is now in our museums, you know. And when we look at people's necklaces, you see the same teardrop when you see peacocks, you know, like they're why is it that the male peacock is so beautiful, you know? And it's all goes into like reasons for mating and things like that. He's like, what is the most beautiful landscape? and and so that's why I'm like, this idea of beauty and creating beautiful things is like a really key design like idea and philosophy in what we do.
It's interesting. What's come up on Google even is there's a makeup sponge for like putting in foundation, I think it is, and
Yeah,
it's even shaped like a teardrop,
yeah,
like
man. It's
creating
just
beauty.
aesthetically pleasing to us, you know, when we see like the teardrop shape.
Yeah, teardrop story of a woman. Oh, there's lots of books, architecture. Even got the roof of the Taj Mahal. That
Yeah,
that
man.
that sponge is called a beauty blender. Um, there's a car and like the fenders and things in that shape. Yeah, like I said, jewelry, teardrop jewelry. I just had a thought. Rappers with their tattoo, teardrops around there. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So when you got into architectural design, what was your vision of how you thought that would go as a career?
When I got into it, um, I don't know. I don't think I think it's only evolved as a like evolved over this 5 years. The more I've
Hmm.
learned about myself, the more this understanding of architecture and what I want to do in it has come about.
Hmm.
Like I knew I always wanted to be an architect. But I don't think was as switched on as I am now when I was at uni.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like at uni, I was still trying to understand the abstract and what design was, how to speak and like create in the design language. And I think it was only after I started working where I was trained to think like a designer
Hmm. Hmm.
in the way you think about things in the world, your ideas, along with everything that I've learned in the through the Bollywood school and what I've been doing with the podcast and all the video stuff, was bringing everything into one and refining like, who do I really want to be as an architect and why am I even doing this?
Hmm.
And I still ask this like the last couple of weeks sitting here at my desk working these hours. I'm just like, why? What's the point of all of this? You know, like, man, like I could be, I don't know, doing something else that's far less stressful and be all good, you know? But like, is that exciting? That's only gonna be exciting for me for very little, like for a moment of time. And then I'm gonna be like, I wanna be back doing that, you know? So I know that, but it's like, yeah, what is my purpose and why I'm doing it? That's been like I've only learned that through this time. And like I said before, what I'm learning that it's about is creating positive spaces. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if we create positive spaces, then positive spaces create us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's funny we were talking about journeys in life. My mum took me to Lenlai Art Gallery when I was like 12. Thought it
Yep.
was the most bizarre thing in the world, but like it was also so out there and interesting and like what's all that about? And then
Yep.
even like the way you've placed these two bulbs behind you at different heights, it's just like that's cool. And when I was at O'Rourke in Auckland, I met this guy, Angus Muir, and he's the curator for Silo Park for a while there, and he
Right.
does installations of like columns of mirrors or columns of light and just interaction of color and light and reflection, and so it's like very much sort of like visual and optometry related. So that's I think I vibe with it. But yeah, I love installation and public space. How
100%,
you can
man.
make just like a public park just pop and like
Yep.
when the especially with light, when the lights go off, you can create this whole nother world. I think it's just like the Walk of Lights or something that was on at Black Barn in Hawke's Bay recently, and there used to be
Yep.
something on in the park there in Ponsonby. I went there when I lived in Auckland, and just how you can turn when it gets dark, you can
Yep.
create space to be a whole nother world is
Yeah,
super
man.
cool. Yeah.
We had a project at uni. So in our second year, and the festival that we're a part of was called Festa,
Hmm.
something festival of some festival of light down in Christchurch.
Yeah.
And we had to pretty much it was like this collab project between ourselves and
Do you
Auckland
remember what year that
University.
was? 15.
2015. I think we finished 2015. No,
Because I did go to a
2020.
light festival in 2015 in Christchurch in Hagley Park. It was fucking cool. Yeah, I
I think
wonder
it
if
might
that
have
was
been
it.
the year before,
Yeah,
2014.
cool.
Because I think 2013 I started uni, 2015 was this project.
Yeah,
And it was pretty much in the main like city center.
yeah,
Like so where we had like our installations were where the demolished buildings had been removed.
right. No, so this
So
was
we're
different.
standing in like cleared like building lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, we pretty much had to design this massive installation. So our installation was called Influx, and it was like we imagine if you had like a bicycle here and it's tied up to like this. We had like this like web thing made out of like PVC pipes all joined on coordinates, and
Wicked.
we threaded it like in and out and then down to like another set of bikes that were like, so we had like kind of like an XY grid, and
Wow.
then we like offset all these things, and so it's kind of like a little bit of a wave, and like as you move this, it moves the pipe and everything like up, so it's all kind of like undulating.
Fantastic.
And the cool thing about that was we had to get everything from Auckland down to Christchurch, and there's no way we could take everything on a plane. So like um we teamed up with another group who was driving their stuff down, and I was the only one in the group who could drive manual because the van was a manual. And I'm like, okay, well, this is like extremely uncomfortable. Like I've never done this, like never driven the length of the country,
Not
never
quite.
really driven a van.
Hey, Invercargill's a long way from Christchurch.
But at the time for me, that was like
The length
the
of the
country,
country.
you know. It was like I'm taking like this van. So we had this van that was filled up to the brim. We only had couldn't even see out the rear view
Good.
because everything was filled up in the back. And we had an extended trailer filled to like, so you had the trailer, but then it's like extended back and front.
Oh gosh.
And I've never driven with a trailer in my life. I tried reversing and I was like, yeah, I'm never doing that again. We're only driving forward. And I couldn't see out the other side. So I only had this like my wing mirror on my right hand side to look back at every time.
Oh
And
gosh.
the group that we had had like these massive panels which were stacked up, and
Yeah.
we had to like glad wrap it all like with like big commercial glad wrap,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and every time we'd drive, we wouldn't account for like the wind like as we were driving, so you just hear like all this flapping. And yeah, man, we got
Did
it down
somebody
to
accompany you?
Christchurch. Sorry.
Someone accompanied you, I hope.
Yeah, it was me from my group and another girl from the other group, because like the two teams had to get their stuff down,
Oh wow. Oh wow.
and then we'd get it back up as well.
Yeah.
So, but that was like such a cool experience, because I would have never done anything like that, you
Yeah.
know.
And then how did the construction go? Like you'd obviously already built it in Auckland. Then getting down there did it go smoothly or?
It was, so we only built like maybe a fifth of the model up here.
Oh wow.
Like we just tested that, oh yeah, this thing's gonna work, and we kind of understand how it's gonna work. And then when we got down there and did the like, everything pretty much went pretty seamlessly right until the very end, where I think we miscalculated the amount of crimps and things we needed, and some screws and fasteners and things like that.
Yeah.
And so we were running off to like the trade store to get more equipment. And then what we didn't account for was like the axles we had created. We hadn't accounted for the weight of the full structure that was suspended in the air.
Oh
And
yeah.
so like our axles were starting to like bend out, which meant that we couldn't like move. So, and that, which, because people were cycling, that was like we're trying to like that would move our axles, which would then make our whole thing move. But because that stopped, then like all these bicycles became like a waste of thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we just got people to like move it like without doing the cycling. And so it still worked, and people were still like looking at it and interacting with it, which was cool. But yeah, man, like stuff's always gonna go wrong, and you just gotta learn how to adapt. And we all still had a good time. That is still one of the coolest things I've ever designed or been a part of, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting you say about the like design process and then the functionality of it and the execution of it. How like when it comes to structure, how do you balance the engineering and the construction side of things? Like my uncle's a draftsman, and he jokes that he's the in between engineering and architecture. Like
Yeah.
yeah, and it also brings a little bit of construction mindset to it too. Like how does that interaction run?
Yeah. It's like you have the design and what you've got,
Yeah,
and as an architect you still got to make sure you end up at that, like you don't lose that concept, you know.
yeah,
And so if you've designed something to have only 300 mil, and we're going to try and get 300, whatever like structure you can fit in 300 mil, that's what we're going to try, you know. And then if you have to have a member that's sized bigger than what you've allowed for, then that's where that problem solving comes in.
yeah,
And you just got to rework a solution that's going to satisfy the engineer and get you the result you want. Like I've had conversations where like, oh no, we can't. They were gonna put like a structural member in, which is like 200 mils over what we've allowed for, you know. And it's like, nah, we got to use another material. Can we use something else, you know? And that's where, yeah, you got to have those conversations.
hard out. It's kind of the I think that's what the appeal of architecture is the ultimate like blend of both hemispheres. It's like the creativity with the problem solving.
100%, man. And
With this like really broad understanding of systems, like such a great
yeah,
career.
like you gotta understand the type of people that are using the building.
Hmm.
But then like what I'm still learning about, right, is like all the plumbing and drainage and how all that works. I'm learning about all the mechanical systems and how all of that works. I'm learning about the electrical, the fire, the
Yeah,
structural, like this, like it's all encompassing. And like going back to like what I was saying before, I was like, oh, Man, I think I could do like I could be a structural engineer or a fire engineer. That's pretty good. I just got to focus on the fire, you know? And then I was reflecting in the other day and I was like, man, if I did that, then I'd probably want to be in control of the design, you know? I'd be like, oh, why don't you change this in your plan, you know? And yeah, that's why I could probably never do that, you know? Like I think I have to be the architect of the building, you know, where I can control the design and what I want to do and yeah.
Yeah. And how much is the sort of smart and also eco version of construction coming in, like future proofing, all those sorts of things? Like, how many
Yeah,
sockets have you
so
got to put into your design these days?
yeah, man. Like we try because sustainability is like a core part of our business and what we're about and how we design our buildings. You know, if there's a way where you can design something to minimize the amount of waste, then that's a no-brainer. You got to do it, you
Hmm.
know? And we're starting to have conversations about end of life and how long we're designing and are we designing with the right products? You know, if there's something that's a lot more sustainable, then we should put it in. And even like when you design something, if you can design it to be eco-friendly or sustainable, then try and drive that in as like a core value to the project. And it's about coaching the client to understand or share the same value. You know,
Hmm.
like we get clients who are like, yeah, I want this building to be 100% sustainable. And you can achieve that if you've got the right clients who have that mindset, you know, but where cost kind of comes into it, that's a pretty big factor, you know.
Hmm.
It's like are you gonna pay for something that you want, or do you have to settle for next best?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
You know?
interesting. I was having that discussion today about value and cost and compromise and especially when it comes to lenses and lens design.
Yep.
There is definitely a cost value um, compromise trade off. Like, and I was sort of saying that for someone that has no idea, this is their first time being introduced to the concept of a high performing lens, which is a progressive lens that allows them to see distance to near. They sort of have no idea of what's possible, what what is quite good, and so you need to create this journey in education
Yep.
around, okay, so here's where the value comes in, and here's where the price can be cut, and here's the framework of cost that you're going to be dealing with to do that, because it, when you've got no idea of value, all you're going off is some $2 shop ready readers.
Yep.
Over $1,000 is a big gulp just for the lenses.
Yeah, man. 100%.
And then you've got to put the frame in that, and again the same with the frame. It's without having knowledge of connecting with the design process, connecting with the manufacturing, connecting with the finer details of something. What is the difference between a $99 frame and a $700 frame? And turns out it's a lot, and even the sustainability, the supply chain of all of those things. Is it
Yep.
Luxottica built on mass scale in Italy, or is it some niche French brand that's basically handmade their acetates, handmade their frames, put the best structure in there, keeping the design, you know,
Yep.
and that's the difference. And
And then
unless you have
you
that conversation, they don't know.
yep.
It's just a pair of glasses.
And then you also got to factor in the rent, like the phone call you've had with like your mate who's had a past experience with something, and then that then you know projects your idea onto your view, and then you're like, yeah, nah, I can't do that because
Hard
like
out.
of what he's done, you know, and it's like, man, you haven't even had this experience yet.
I have that conversation. Progressive Lens is that conversation every single day.
Yep.
My mum had those and she hated them.
Yeah.
Like,
There you go.
my
Doesn't
response
mean
was,
you're gonna hate them if you've
yeah,
never
are you
even
your
tried it,
mum?
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's on the flip side, it's the same conversation I often have around smoking. Hey, it's my sort of chiv is why do you smoke? And it's confronting. And I've been over this topic before, that when you ask why to somebody, they get defensive around it. But it's also system interrupting that question, especially around smoking. And often people will say it's like, because I started when I'm 14, and you just kind of go, are you still 14? You know,
Yeah,
why do you
yeah.
do it now?
That's a good question.
And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, yeah. So I think in that circumstance, the question why works quite well because you've got to think about the answer. But yeah, there's also the risk that you get the heckles up. So yeah, you got to pick your crowd, I guess.
Yeah, man. 100%. You don't want to step on anyone's toes.
Yeah, yeah, and like for every smoker knows that it's no good for them. Sometimes with the eye, we have the advantage of showing them that their retina's not so good, but usually they might be too late. Trying to,
But isn't that with like everything though? Like what we
yeah,
were talking about with like social media before,
yeah,
like we know that it's not good for us and we know that it's not real and we know that we're investing our happiness into it. But yeah, it's all good. We'll get the dopamine hit, we'll play into it, we'll take it all on and suffer the consequences, you know?
yeah. Hard out. It's like what is your addiction? You know,
Yep,
how
100%.
how addictive are you, or do you have distributed addiction?
Mm, yeah,
Yeah,
man.
like that's partly
I've
why I don't
been
don't watch
I
series on TV because I will like need to know. I need to keep watching it, and it's I don't have the time for that, so I don't allocate my. I abstain from Netflix series.
oh yeah. But do you
Yeah.
watch Netflix?
No, no, I abstain from it.
Oh wow. The
Yeah,
man.
I like I also had like a good bad experience watching Suits. I watched it
Oh yeah.
quite quickly, and I got to sort of season 3 or 4, where his relationship was just purely breaking down. It was getting so toxic, and I felt so bad for all characters involved. And I was like, I can't watch this anymore. And so now I'm like scared that I'm going to get really emotionally invested in characters and like feel bad.
Right. I got like a love-hate relationship with Suits. Like, it's like really good and then it kind of tailed off and then I just like lost interest in it and
Yeah.
was just like, okay, well, he ends up going to prison and stuff like that. And
Oh wow, I
it's
didn't even
just
get that
like,
far.
yeah. Yeah, he goes to prison and apparently I think he leaves and stuff like that. And then after a while, it's just like, oh, and this is like not what it started out like, I mean, he could remember everything and that's what it was all about, and
Yeah.
yeah.
And it
But
was about
yeah,
his people skills and interaction and just his charm, like charming of clients and getting it over the line. Yeah,
yeah.
it turned pretty dramatic.
So what do you do in that space of where you could be watching something?
Yeah, I'm a big consumer of podcasts,
Oh, yeah.
and
Do you just
so
sit there and listen, or do you do something else while you're
just
listening?
do other stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, my morning involves getting up, and so originally I was doing my breathing in bed, and then I started finding that I was getting into
You
bed and
fall
having
asleep?
no, I was having trouble falling asleep at nighttime because I'd begin
Oh,
to
right.
associate my breath work with being awake, and so I was like, that's right. You shouldn't do other things apart from sleeping just in your bed. So,
Yeah.
um, I've started getting up now, and I've been falling asleep much better. So
Cool.
yeah, I do that with just the Wim Hof playlist from Spotify, and then I
Yep.
do some breathing. That's sort of one breath in, one breath out, one breath in, one breath out, and a 5 second hold, just continuous. And I'll lose that, and then you can come back to the breath. So it's slightly meditative.
Mm.
Then it's like showering or breakfast, and that's when I flick on podcasts. Go to work. Occasionally in the lunch hour, I'll listen to podcasts. I might read,
Right.
might
Yeah.
do Sudoku,
Yeah.
and then go to the gym, come home and make food, and again have podcasts on because I'm here by myself, so that's where
Right.
I fill space. Also driving up to pick up my daughter. If I drive to Hawke's Bay to see my girlfriend, I'll listen to podcasts often, and then other times listen to music. So yeah, there's that. Weekends is basically spent with my daughter, like making the
Yep.
most of that time, and yeah, and then I like being with people. So yeah,
Sick.
yeah, especially like dinner and talk to my girlfriend on the phone or whatever, and
Yep.
go to
It's
sleep. So
that energy allocation and prioritizing a day.
yeah, and so yeah, then when I fall down when it comes to the social media side of things is like
Right.
the small moments in the day,
Yep.
like especially with an appointment structure, there's like 5 minutes or 10 minutes in between is when I'll flick into it. So like my consumption's, an hour or two in a day. And you're like,
Yep.
that's a lot of small 5 minutes.
Yeah, man. It adds up. And like that's why I've tried to step away from it because like while I'd wait for like a file to open, and you
Mm.
just pick up your phone and your thumb clicks on Instagram and you're just like, what am I doing?
Yeah,
And yeah, man, I'm just like what you're saying, just trying to stop.
yeah, and it's been quite funny of late. Like especially with, I think this is where I think things are compounding with the like daily updates of what's going on, and like seriously, all you need to do is click the homepage and see that there's 90 cases, and
Yeah.
in the case of living in the Waikato, how many are still in the Waikato? Oh yeah, 4 or 5. Oh, 4 or 5. Oh, 4 or 5. Oh, 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, so the story is there's 80 in Auckland and 4 or 5 in Waikato. Carry on, move on, and then it's like they present something to try and clickbait you, and well, often you'll ignore it because you're like, well, there's the inverted commas story there, and then you go, well, you could check metrics all over the place. You can look at Instagram, or then I'm like, you know what? None of this is fulfilling. I'm going to read my book, or I'll go
Yep.
like talk to the staff,
Yep.
and shit, you feel so much better. It's so good, and that's why I love going to the gym as well. It's like put my timer on, put my programming on, and have an hour or have half an hour to like
Yep.
disengage and just be focused on exertion and sweat and pain and all those sorts of things. It's so good.
Where did all of this kind of develop for you? Where did it come out of
Yeah,
this way of being?
a bit like you, the self improvement stuff. So like behind
Yep.
me there, I've got two of the Tim Ferriss books. There's the mental skills coach from the Waikato Chiefs, Dave Galbraith's book. It's
Oh,
called
yep.
Unleashing Greatness. So
Yep.
those sorts of things. Read those. Like I said, when I was young, I read the Winner's Bible,
Yep.
David Beckham biographies, Lance Armstrong biographies, lots of rugby biographies, things like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, just like viscerally absorbing things like Tony Robbins. Never like engaging with their programs or anything, but just picking up
Just
snippets. And that's why I like podcasts because it
yeah.
allows you
Yeah.
to pick so many brains. Um,
Yeah.
so when you're consuming that content, you're consuming those behaviors, and that's what I
Yep.
also try to cultivate in my Instagram is trying to get examples of ways I'd like to live my life. And that's the same with this podcast, like Life Less Ordinary. It's like, how are other people living their life and striving through their life? And
Yep.
can that be an example for everyone else? And that's where there's such great synergy with what you're doing, like making positivity louder. It's cool. Like, yeah. And like, so without the youth group, what individually do you sort of take responsibility in terms of your growth with?
Yeah, man, like pretty much like yourself. Like the first book that I read that kind of flicked the switch in terms of like self-development and understanding the universe and everything was The Secret.
Oh wow, yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you've read that, but
Nah.
that's a really good book. And then the one directly after that, The Alchemist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And both of those books kind of like go hand in hand and kind of tell you that you are the creator of your world. You are the alchemist and you can create or bring about things in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And that I was at a time where I was able to relate that to everything that we'd done before, with the shows and stuff like that. But nowadays, like, I'm a really big fan of Tom Bilyeu,
Mm-hmm.
on
Yeah.
Impact Theory.
Impact theory,
And
yeah.
that guy is the man. And a lot of what I try and do, I base off and learn off what he's doing,
Mm-hmm.
from the way he sets his videos and things up and the way he likes to interview and the people he interviews. And I was like, man, that's like an inspirational
What
somewhere
what
where I'd like to.
what platform is he using when he's having that sort of conference setup?
Um, I'm not too sure. I haven't looked into that. I've looked into some online softwares. There's like Riverside, which I've been looking into.
Hmm.
That's been pretty good because Zoom will do like a 720p download
Yeah,
and video, whereas Riverside you get like full HD plus all the audio tracks and stuff.
yeah,
So I've been looking into that to see if that's something that I could do, but I haven't looked into what he does because his stuff's pretty like crystal clear, eh?
yeah, yeah. Um, what was that? Yeah, it was the last podcast. I brought Impact Theory up, and I couldn't remember Tom Bailey's name. And he was somebody that I sort of found out by looking at sort of low carbohydrate diets and things, because his his sort of success story was Quest Nutrition, but
Yep.
he has his vision is kind of like being another Disney. Do you know that about him?
Yeah, yeah. He wants to create like comic books and videos and stuff like that. That's like his true like passion and what he wants to achieve.
Yeah. And then like he's also sort of pivoted with his wife in talking about like relationship sort of applications. And I reshared today a conversation with Brene Brown and Esther Perel, and how that was a lot about adult relationship and sort of roles in relationships, and sort of the personality traits of either person in the relationship. And they sort of talk about the conflict when people kind of cross those boundaries, when situations demand different personality traits from people. That they're talking about in the concept of uncertainty in COVID. And I think
Yep.
Brene Brown's husband's a pediatrician, so he has the ability to, I think the terms like strong beliefs loosely held. So he can observe the information and make a decision, but he doesn't necessarily think that that's correct. And
Right.
whereas Brene says she is very uncertain about a lot of things, and she just wanted like the answer. And he was like,
Yeah.
well, we can't. This is a novel thing. We don't know the answer. Every day we're treating this differently, but every day we make a decision and do the best that we can. And she was just like, well, okay, so I'm gonna have to be the person that's certain around this. He's like, yeah, that's good. And she's like, it brought up so much conflict between the two of them, but they were strong enough to work through it. And she said it was one of the hardest times they've had as a relationship, but also the biggest growths that they've had in a relationship. And then that's what I think Tom Bailey and his wife are talking about, that, hey, in your personal relationship, you can have this massive growth as individuals, but then you can bring that into business, because business and teams is about relationships and understanding how those dynamics work. Being the owner or the founder, you might have to have that adult to subordinate
Mm.
child relationship, but
Yep.
what you should really be doing is empowering them to come to that really equal conversation, so that you can both grow and create, and you can distribute responsibility, and people can take hold of their projects and things like that. And like, yeah, that's like you say, Tom Bailey, what he's putting out there is super powerful.
Yeah, man. And like even to that, I think what we do is we like um we like com compartmentalize everything
Yeah,
in our life. You know, we have like our work, we have our home, family, personal friends, other groups, you know, and we like put them all into like different categories, you know, in different parts of life, but like we forget that that is all one life,
yeah, yeah.
you know, and at the end of the day, you're just human beings. So
How cool.
and and so whatever you learn from here, you can 100% flicking throw into that one, you
Yeah.
know, and all you got to do is just be yourself in every single one of them, and you're all good.
Yeah, that's really
That's what
cool.
I've learned. That's what I've like learned from him,
Yeah,
probably.
I think what's cool there as well. You brought up like your different, like your family, your work, your friends. Like something that I continually journal is so I do a future gratitude, what I want like my life to look like and what I'll be grateful for in the future. And it's
Yep.
always this image of like a lounge room that has your friends, that has your immediate family, and it has your extended family in it, and this great amalgamation and fusion of all of those people. So um, the small sort of snippet I have of that at the moment is my good friend Matt that I flatted with in Auckland. His parents live in the Mount, and we will often go to that place because it's reasonably central to the rest of us. I'm down here. I was in Hawke's Bay. Our other mates in the North Shore, Matt's in Taranaki, and our other friends in Palmerston North. So the Mount's pretty central for all that. But
Yeah.
you know, we're there enjoying ourselves in each other's company, but also their parents are there enjoying their company. And I just like when I was over in the Mount doing Wim Hof session with Nigel Beach, I went and popped in and Matt's grandparents were there as well, and like I'd been
Right.
lucky enough to stay with Matt's grandparents in Taranaki once, and it was just like, hey, how you going? Like that is all one part of, like you say, it is one life. It's so cool.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And I think we forget that,
Yeah,
we think everything is so individual and we have to put on different personalities. Like when we're at work, we're a completely different person as to who we're at home. And
yeah. Do you
that's
have
a lot
kids?
of me.
Yeah,
How old do you think I am, man?
I don't know.
Take a guess.
Oh, I would say 15, 5 years. 29,
Oh, close. 27.
27. I could have had kids.
Yeah. Nah, no kids, but
No
getting
kids.
married next year.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, that's definitely adding like another element. Like I have this. I have a photo of my daughter in my practicing room now. For so long, I've been in practices where I've moved around, like a couple of days here, a couple of days there, a couple of days there. So I've never really
Yeah.
had my own
Almost like
room.
hot desking. Yeah.
Yeah, hard out hot disking is exactly what I've been doing. And
Yeah.
so now to have a room to myself, um, I've been able to put this picture of my daughter up. And again, it's just like in my practice, she's part of my life, and it's like to my patients, like this is part of my life. That that's my daughter. And especially like with young kids, I love working with young kids because there's so much potential. I love asking them what are they passionate about, what would they like to do, and often none of them know. But just instilling that, hey, you can do anything, like we were talking about
Yeah.
earlier. The options are endless. What do just what are you trying? What are you enjoying? What's fascinating you? Um, and then being able to relate their stories and say, yeah, that's kind of like what my daughter's like, and that like seeing that realism, and reflected back into kids is so awesome. So yeah, and do you get to go into these childcare spaces and see that like energy movement? Oh, wicked, man.
Yeah, man. Like we'll have days where the company takes us out and we go visit like all the buildings that we've created or are being built, just so that we can see what we're doing and the impact and effect that it has. And yeah, like there's one story where we spoke to some of the teachers who worked in the space, and they were just like, this building is like life changing.
Wow.
And for us to hear that, that was like we couldn't ask for anything more. Like that kind of just set it into stone as to like what we do has a direct impact on the people that use the space.
Man, you brought up energy of the space, and one of the last weekends I spent with Jugger, he's who I would stay with when I come up from Hawke's Bay to see my daughter, and he's Gujarati and Hindu as well. And he sort of
Yep.
asked me one day, like, what do you believe in, Ryan? And I said, well, I was brought up Catholic, so I have this sort of soul idea, but I see it
Yep.
as energy that's constant, and like it's. And he said, bro, you should look into Hinduism.
You
And I was
should,
like,
man.
and then and
100%.
then like when we really got down to talking, after you had talked with Will Fleming on his Instagram live, you were sort of outlaying this constancy of energy and connection with your ancestors. And I was like, yeah, Juggerad, you're right. Yeah, yeah. So like,
Yeah, man.
is it really exciting when someone brings you a project that is about energy?
Yeah, because like it's like everything that you believe in or that you've been told like or taught,
Hmm.
to think about, and then someone's like, let's look at this, and you're like, oh, we're like on the same wavelength, and we
Yeah.
can find like the chances of something like that would be, if I was anywhere else, probably like one in a million,
Hmm.
you know. But that's where like the universe aligns, to like what you want,
Mm.
where you have this belief and you have this purpose, and you're vibrating on this frequency. And then the space that you're in allows for that, and therefore the projects that you work on will allow for that as well. 100% because of the energy that you propagate,
Mm.
and like it's even in like physics,
Mm.
the law of conservation of energy. You can't destroy or create it. It only transforms.
Mm. Yeah, that's where that is a lot of where my ideal of the spiritual and unexplained comes from, is like that conservation of energy. And I like do think of the Big Bang, and it's actually a homebrew song. What's before the Big Bang?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a cool mind game to happen. Yeah, no, Tom Scott's a genius in his lyrics, and like it might be hip hop, but there's some cool stuff, mate. Where do people find you? Like, where do they raise the positivity?
They can raise the positivity in their own life, man. You
Yeah,
can find me. I'm on all the social media platforms, websites, www.thehumannnow.co.nz. I'm The Human Now on Instagram, TikTok as well, and even on all podcasting spaces. If you just head up The Human Now, and that's where you'll find me.
brilliant, bro. So you brought up flow there.
Yep.
What does keep you in flow? What shows up in your life when things are moving along in that great direction before bloody life drops you on your bum?
What keeps me in the flow is and like just knowing and staying true to my purpose and what I believe in. Like that's my true north. And if I'm thinking about that and that's at my forefront,
Yeah.
then everything's good. Even when life chucks you in the ringer, you know, you know that you're in the ringer for this reason, and that reason is that you're still staying on that path.
Beautiful, my man. Thank you so much, Akash. This has been
No
cool.
worries, man. Yeah, this
And
was epic. This was sick. It went so quick.
yeah, bro. And hopefully, we can do it in person sometime soon. Our fingers are
Yeah,
crossed.
man. Whatever happens with these traffic lights when it goes green, let's not get
Beautiful.
into that, man.
Yeah,
No,
bro. Let's keep it positive. Lead your mouth, press stop there.
exactly. Sweet, man.